Part 18. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 171. The stage play of the top group was very touching, and it was also the first time Ji-Fei played a role properly. The acting is still very raw, but it doesn't make people feel embarrassed. With the help of Qin Chao and Yuroyan, the stage effect is still guaranteed. It's just that netizens were quite disappointed when they were enjoying the stage performance. It seems that eating melons is addictive. It's really frustrating if the top group doesn't produce some melons. A stage without slaps is like a stage without a soul. I thought that after the previous group performed that melon, they would also react. I still remember that in the first episode, the actor group also performed Yao Matzi, but was refuted by the top group's acting. Since there is no refutation this time, it may prove that what Sun Man performed is true, and it can be regarded as another kind of agree. It's hard to say. So the entertainment judge will not rectify the entertainment industry this period. The entertainment industry has already cut its aorta. How can you fans expect Ji-Fei to make any big noise? I feel the same way. The things that can be dug up have reached the limit. There is nothing left to judge. Ji-Fei can't always offend people. So now it's time to take acting seriously. After all, our sister Fei also plans to be an actor. The most important thing is acting. After a few episodes, I can feel that Sister Fei's acting skills are really improving. If it were based solely on acting, it would be hard to say who would win this episode. Forget it, no melon, this stage play is good, it looks full of red background. This is the time when the top group has a sense of social responsibility and knows that the traffic on them is the greatest, so they perform such a script to guide the young people. Yeah, the top group's dramas are always quite educational. If nothing else, at this moment, my heart is ready to join the army. Am I the only one who is about to be killed by the handsome Xiao Qi who just came up? It must be a real military dog. It looks like it has injuries on its hind legs. It should be retired. It's hard to say whether it's a military dog or not. Off stage. Other Qin family members were asking Qin Xian, is this the one Xiao Luo helped borrow? Qin Xian nodded and said, yes, a retired drug detection dog. That's a hero, Dad, Qin said excitedly. Qin Xian nodded and said, he has made a lot of contributions and has outstanding abilities. It's really good to cooperate with Lao San and Fei Fei, Qin's mother said in surprise. Qin Xian pointed to the human in the photography area not far away and said, there is its trainer over there, ready to command. The family was discussing when they suddenly heard a greeting coming from next to them. You guys are here too. Although Peng Li had a bad time with them last time, after a few days, the scar healed and she forgot about the pain. Seeing their family there, she couldn't help but come over because she heard that it was Qin Chao who called the police. For Peng Li, who was protecting his shortcomings, this was simply a stab at his Achilles heel. The Qin family looked back and were not too surprised to see Peng Li and Lang Zhe coming together. You have harmed people and sent them to the police station, but you still feel so at ease. I also admire your family. Anyway, I can see that you don't take our Peng family seriously at all. Qin's mother raised her eyebrows, but when she saw the bright pearl necklace around her neck, she couldn't help but hide back. After all, Peng Li was standing closest to her now. Seeing Lang Zhe behind him with a gloomy expression and wearing a mask, Qin's mother's expression became even more strange. What? I finally feel guilty. He is my godson, and he is half your junior. Look what your son has done, Peng Li said, her eyes turned red with anger. I think you don't know what your godson has done. Qin's mother couldn't help complaining in a low voice, why are you here? Looking for trouble. Peng Li snorted coldly, I'm here to settle accounts. She was about to say something more. Qin Xian directly warned in a low voice, please don't disturb the performance. Peng Li was still quite worried about Qin Xian. The audience in the back row was already very dissatisfied with the two people standing in the aisle. When his eyes focused, Lang Zhe suddenly panicked, pressed down his cap, and pulled Peng Li to find an empty seat to sit down. Their side is the VIP seating area, but there are some empty seats. Just the moment Lang Zhe sat down, his body froze for a moment, and his face turned dark again. Peng Li and Lang Zhe came in because of their connections. Naturally, they would not be stupid enough to interrupt the performance at this moment. According to the lawyer's prompts, if they wanted to clarify, they could rush to the stage to clarify the truth during the live interview session later. The lawyer meant that they had better communicate with the client before going on stage, so they actually went to Lu Fei first. It's just that Lu Fei not only didn't answer their calls, but was also backstage with Sun Man. But Peng Li didn't want to meet Sun Man at all. She wanted to seize the opportunity to catch him off guard and destroy Sun Man, so she didn't break into the backstage and came to the audience to wait for the final interview session. When I saw the Qin family, I couldn't help but come up to question them. But after actually sitting down, Peng Li did not continue to cause trouble for the Qin family. The Qin family was always vigilant, worried that the other party would retaliate against Qin Chao and Ji Fei for calling the police, but seeing them being so quiet, they suddenly knew better. Qin Yan immediately sent a message to Qin Rong, who was still in the background, explaining the situation. Pei Mingxian, who had already discussed the signing details with Sun Man backstage, immediately received the news from Qin Rong. He immediately frowned and said, "What are they going to do?" "Come find us," Lu Fei snorted coldly. "Peng Li's brain probably wants to take advantage of us on stage to do something crazy." When she pursued her husband, Peng Li was very crazy, not like a rich lady at all. She just did whatever she wanted. She must want to deal with Sun Man, and my stupid son must want to clear himself, so there will be unexpected situations later, Lu Fei said with an ugly face. It will be a fierce battle. Sun Man's face was a little pale, and she really regretted countless times. Why did she date such a person? Pei Mingxian patted Sun Man's shoulder and said, "Don't worry, you and Ji Fei and Qin Chao will go on stage together later. I have never seen anyone take advantage of the live broadcast stage with Ji Fei and Qin Chao. Just tell them later." In fact, Pei Mingxian was unsure. Who knows what those people who were forced into a desperate situation would do, and there is also a rich lady among them. But she was inexplicably confident in Ji Fei. Although Ji Fei usually looked lazy, she always gave people a strange sense of security at critical moments. However, the most troublesome situation is that neither side can suppress the other. At that time, they really have to use Ji Fei's character as the judge of the entertainment industry to determine the direction of public opinion. Anyway, the truth is like this, so they don't feel guilty. It is impossible for everyone to discuss any results, so they just deal with it as it comes. So several people came to the side of the stage and waited for the end of the stage play. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 172. As the plot progresses, everyone has seen the son played by Qin Chao die in battle, and finally the mother played by Ji Fei takes back the injured and retired Xiao Qi. Ji Fei looks at Xiao Qi, who hangs her head and sobs, as if apologizing to Ji Fei for not bringing her son back safely. Ji Fei chokes up and touches Xiao Qi's head. "Good boy, welcome home." Finally, accompanied by the BGM of the passing of time and the lighting demonstration of spring, summer, autumn, and winter, Ji Fei leads Xiao Qi to the front of the stage, gradually hunching over, facing the audience area, sitting down with difficulty, snuggling with the dog, and looking into the distance. The big screen behind him gradually flips out photos of various military families, and finally forms the borderline of the country. This scene is shocking and touching. Not only did the people in the audience breathe heavier, but the barrage was also moved to tears. There really aren't any melons, but it's really good, woo woo woo. We have a peaceful life because someone is carrying the burden for us, woo woo woo. I just wanted to watch a variety show, woo woo woo, why, woo woo woo. They are the big brothers and sisters of our big family. The bravest and fearless, they will always stand in front of us to protect us when they encounter bad guys. Suddenly I think those tricks of those stars who behave badly are a joke. Yes, it's a joke. I found out that Xiaoqi is actually a drug detection dog. But it's good that its owner retired like him, and nothing happened, otherwise I would have cried to death on the internet today. I didn't expect that the stage play without melons is still so good, the top group is awesome. As the stage play counted down, the director and producer finally let out the breath that was stuck in their throats. After all, they were just irritated by Sun Man and Lu Fei's temporary stage change. This kind of open performance of the truth, it's like a troublemaker who finally promised not to cause trouble, but ended up dancing obediently. It's simply an infectious disease. However, facing this kind of operation, they have already coped with it. It's just that their heartbeats began to accelerate, worrying that the top stream group would be affected and something would happen. They have always been mentally prepared to face the impact. Unexpectedly, it really ended safely. It was normal, and normal, they felt that it was abnormal. So the previous group used the stage to resolve personal grievances, and the top stream group didn't intend to use this to rectify other people in the entertainment industry. This time, the director and producer finally dared to reply to those friends who were nervously asking about their situation. Although it's not that their friends are guilty, it's hard to say about their friends' friends. Everyone is always worried about the performance of the top stream group. Mass message, except for the matter of Sun Man and Lang Jie, nothing happened tonight, and the internal entertainment judge was closed. As a result, they turned around and received Pei Mingxuan's message. The director and producer immediately felt bad. After clicking it, he heaved a sigh of relief. He knew that someone might cause trouble later, but he was not afraid. Regardless of the popularity or the people involved in the domestic entertainment industry, the director and producer arrogantly thought it was a small matter. It can be regarded as adding the last wave of heat, so it won't burn anyone. Just as he was about to reply, he saw that the trainer in the front shooting area suddenly took a few steps forward, Xiaoqi. The audience area also made questioning noises. The director and producer looked up and saw that Xiaoqi, who had just squatted obediently for Jifei to rely on, suddenly stood up, with a fierce look on his face, and began to yell in one direction, with his body half squatting, as if ready to pounce and bite at any time. And the direction it was targeting was the Qin family. It was still very scary for a large dog to do this suddenly, and Jifei was startled, Xiaoqi. And Xiaoqi's trainer was even more shocked. He wanted to make a gesture to signal, but found that Xiaoqi had been staring at one place, and the reaction was obviously that he had found a target and was warning. It has been more than 2 years since he retired. Suddenly, the trainer couldn't react. As a result, Xiaoqi screamed more and more urgently, and the people closest to him screamed in fear and kept hiding to the side. Peng Li, who was frightened by the scream, was still cursing, "What kind of beast did you bring to the performance? Something must have happened. Be careful that your precious daughter-in-law will be bitten." "Shut your stinky mouth, it's a drug detection dog, smarter than you," Qin Ma said angrily. As a result, Lang Jie, who was standing aside, stood up in fear when he heard it, and cold sweat rushed on his head. He didn't care about the cramps caused by his big movements. He also felt that the dog was staring at him, and their straight line distance was only 5 meters. Lang Zhe immediately turned around and ran. As a result, there was a dog barking behind him, and with the exclamations of the audience, a large group of black shadows flew into the air. Lang Zhe was knocked down the moment he stepped on the steps. With screams, he saw Xiao Qi biting his legs heavily, not giving him a chance to escape. The hat flew off, and someone recognized the unlucky guy and exclaimed, "That's Lang Zhe." The studio exploded. The camera instinctively pointed to that side, and the live broadcast room's barrage was also flying. What's going on? Lang Zhe is also there? And he was bitten by a dog. So, the dog also knows who is a scumbag and who is a bad guy. This is not an ordinary dog, it's a dog brought by our domestic entertainment judge, so it's still judged. No, everyone, Xiaoqi is a drug detection dog. It's a professional. Even if it retires, it won't bite people casually. I've seen this kind of video. Xiaoqi just gave a warning, proving that it found drugs. The barrage was full of discussion, and the scene was in chaos. Everyone's attention was on Xiao Qi and Lang Zhe. No one noticed Ji Fei, who was still on the stage. In fact, when Xiao Qi flew out, Ji Fei instinctively stood up and wanted to stop him, but he couldn't catch up with Xiao Qi's speed at all. As a result, he stood unsteadily on the edge and lost his balance after a few stumbles. Just when Ji Fei was thinking about what posture he could use to jump down to reduce the damage. In the noisy studio, Ji Fei heard a low voice that was anxious but gave people an infinite sense of security. "Don't be afraid, fall down, I'll pick you up." Ji Fei's brain didn't distinguish the situation so quickly, and he could only be sure that it was Qin Xian's voice. For a moment, Ji Fei actually wanted to obey and give up self-rescue, and go down along the falling posture, always feeling that Qin Xian could do what he said, and he didn't have to worry. But the temperament in his bones still made Ji Fei reflexively choose self-rescue at the last moment, and he twisted his body and jumped down from the front. At the moment of jumping, he saw Qin Xian, who was ready to hug him at any time, in the audience. His deep eyes did not reflect the chaotic environment around him, only Ji Fei's complete figure. I don't know when he rushed to the audience. He had opened his arms, and the strong arm lines showed his strength through the close-fitting suit. If he really let him catch it, he would definitely be held firmly. Ji Fei really had a moment of regret. As a result, Ji Fei also jumped hard, and Qin Xian also caught it, and the two of them collided with each other. Ji Fei directly hit the person and groaned, but he hugged the strong body. Fortunately, Qin Xian's chassis was stable enough, otherwise Ji Fei's impact would have directly pressed him to the ground. Qin Xian stabilized Ji Fei and put him down, but did not let go of him. Instead, he hugged him vaguely, lowered his head and stared at him with concern. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, thank you." Ji Fei felt his heartbeat a little faster for some reason, and was a little afraid to look at Qin Xian now. Peng Li screamed in my ears. "Ah, dead dog, get out. Don't bite my godson." Ji Fei came back to his senses, pulled out of his arms, and immediately went to see the situation over there. "Strange, what happened to Xiao Qi? It's a pity that I can't see the dog's information. Wait, let me see Lang Zhe's." Other members of the Qin family also heard the inner voice, turned around, and saw Ji Fei and Qin Xian standing together. Just when I was wondering, I heard Ji Fei's inner voice make a sharp explosion, almost drowning out the noise. "Oh my God, is he crazy? He actually helped people transport drugs, or stuck there." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 173. Ji Fei's voice made the Qin family dumbfounded. If it weren't for Xiaoqi's identity and behavior, the Qin family would really suspect that they were hallucinating. Lang Zhe was drugged. Is that where? Is it where they thought it was? The Qin family didn't know whether to look at Jifei or Lang Zhe. Jifei was also shocked. She didn't expect Lang Zhe to be so bold. He had done a lot of loopholes in fraud. It was incredible that he dared to drug at this moment. Jifei couldn't help but check it carefully. He was crazy. Was he so afraid to face his mistakes? He still wanted to cover up the past, so he agreed to the exchange conditions of the underground casino owner. He thought it was very simple. He just needed to help the boss transport the batch of goods that the police had targeted and hand it over to someone else, so the debt would be cleared. It happened that there were many people here, and it was easier to cover up the handover in public places, so he agreed with people to hand over in the corridor toilet after the show ended, when the audience poured out in large numbers. Lang couldn't carry the bag openly, and he was afraid, so he thought of the way he used to hide the pearl necklace, but he didn't expect, ha 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 ha, Xiaoqi has made contributions after retirement. Lang, you are also looking for death. The original guilt was not serious, and there was no evidence to convict you, but now you really ruined yourself. Thinking of this, Jifei's eyes changed. He had just acted out such a drama, and now he saw Lang Jun scrupulously participating in drug trafficking in order to cover up his mistakes. He was really disgusted. Does he know how many people have sacrificed to prevent such things from entering our big family? Listening to Jifei's voice, the Qin family's faces also changed. Jifei was very angry, so he didn't pay attention to the details. But Qin Xian took out his mobile phone and contacted Luo Fei immediately after listening. Xiaoqi warned, bite Lang Zhe. When Lang Zhe came, his posture was wrong, and he seemed to be very concerned about the time. This was made up by Qin Xian, but he knew that with Luo Fei's caution, he should immediately think that Lang Zhe might have hidden drugs, and he was still meeting people here. In fact, Luo Fei had been watching the live broadcast. After all, he was really curious about the current relationship between Qin Xian and Jifei, and Xiaoqi was borrowed by him through connections, so he had to take care of her. When he saw Xiaoqi's behavior, he had already noticed something wrong and began to arrange people to rush to the studio. But at this time, Luo Fei only thought that this little star was taking drugs. As a result, after receiving the message, Luo Fei's eyes changed, and he immediately contacted the anti-drug team. They might have news about the clues they didn't catch last time. The people in the anti-drug team were dumbfounded when they heard the news. How could you, Captain Luo, take time out of your busy schedule to watch an entertainment program and solve the case? What kind of blessing is this? The police station closest to the studio immediately took action to ensure that no one could slip out of the building from now on. And the studio was still in chaos at this time. Pei Mingxian also came with her people. Seeing her son being bitten, Lu Fei naturally stepped forward anxiously, but was stopped by the trainer. The trainer had already noticed something was wrong and immediately dispersed the crowd. Don't get close, Comrade Lang, please cooperate. If you struggle again, I will do it. But Peng Li rushed over and pulled the trainer. What are you talking about? Who are you going to do it to? Tell your dead dog to let Lang go. The trainer is not in public office now, so it is difficult to say anything. He can only say, as long as he doesn't struggle, I will let Xiaoqi let him go. But how could Lang not struggle? It didn't feel difficult when he agreed to the transportation, but at this moment his whole heart was filled with guilty fear, as if he was a prisoner who was about to be sentenced to death. So even if he was bitten badly, he had to crawl awkwardly, and even used the leg that was not bitten to kick Xiaoqi's head. Xiaoqi dodged cleverly and let go, but before Lang could get up, his leg was bitten again. Lu Fei wanted to rush to her son, but after hearing the conversation between the trainer and the others, her face suddenly changed. Many relatives of Lu Fei and her husband are in the army. She trusts the judgment of the police dog more than others. Especially when she saw that Xiaoqi was not going to attack Lang Jie, but was just preventing him from escaping, she was more certain of one thing. There is something wrong with her son. Thinking about Xiaoqi's function, her face turned pale. She froze in disbelief, and her brain couldn't react at all. With such a family background, she was involved in that kind of thing, which almost hit her to pieces. Finally, the security guard was called over by the director and producer. When Ji-Fei saw the two people coming over, her face was as ugly as a cucumber that had been pickled for a long time. Of course, they came here to save people, but Qin Xian stepped forward and said, "Help evacuate the crowd." The director and producer were anxious, and they heard Qin Xian say, "I'm afraid the police will come later, you should be prepared to appease the crowd." Director and producer. They were just filming a show. Why did the police come? What happened? Who knows, family members. They thought everything would be fine after the rain, but suddenly something like this happened. Sure enough, they shouldn't take any member of the top group lightly. Why are you still standing there? Save them. Peng Li's eyes turned red with anxiety. The director and producer's brains were still working at high speed, and the security guards were also confused without orders from above. At this moment, the police arrived, found the director and producer, and began to control the scene. The director and producer had no other expression on their faces, they were completely numb, they did whatever they said, and they cooperated completely. When they heard that drug dealers might be arrested, the director and producer almost couldn't stand. When the police appeared, Lang Jie jumped up reflexively, and was naturally knocked down by Xiaoqi again. Xiaoqi's look seemed to say, "The duck is cooked, and the credit is in your mouth, can you run away?" Soon, Lang Jie was detained alone. And Peng Li even shouted at the police, thinking that they should arrest the dog. At that time, everyone looked at her as if she was a crazy woman. As a result, after the police confirmed that she was acting with Lang Jie, they handcuffed her as well. Peng Li was stunned. After that, everyone present fell into a confused but very mysterious state. They were watching the show, right? Why were they detained? However, seeing that the artists also found a seat and sat down obediently, the audience did not panic, but whispered madly in their seats and flipped through their phones. The live broadcast had actually stopped long ago. The director and producer couldn't let the audience keep watching the dog bite people, so it turned into a live broadcast accident. Although the live broadcast room was closed, there was already a huge uproar online. It was not until this moment that the people in the studio saw the situation outside. It turned out that they were surrounded by police cars. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yu. Chapter 174. Can anyone tell me what happened? After seeing the police car photo and combining it with Xiaoqi's behavior, can't you guess it? So Lang Jie is really involved. Is this also part of the top group's stage play? Cooperating with the police to handle the case? Covering up? That's really meaningful. What a coincidence. Who knew that the top team really hired a drug detection dog? Lang Jie just ran to the scene. Did he surrender to the trap? If it's a coincidence, it's really hilarious. Everyone was arguing that Lang Jie was innocent before, but now it's okay, there's no need to argue. Yao Xiao, the entertainment program has been directly upgraded to a criminal case. I know how the stage of the top group can end so normally. No, judge of internal entertainment, let's just judge the bad behavior of internal entertainment. Why are you still in charge of crimes? What about cross-professionals? I really want to be laughed to death by Sister Fei. I can only say that you, Sister Fei, are still your Sister Fei, and will never disappoint the masses. Ji Fei was sitting in the audience waiting for arrangements. When surfing the internet, She saw that everyone was talking about her again, and she couldn't help but feel depressed. This can also talk about me, what does it have to do with me? Xiaoqi was borrowed by Sister Pei, and Du was brought by Lang Zhe himself. I was just an innocent melon eater throughout the whole process. It's such an injustice. The Qin family members sitting around were also dumbfounded. What happened this time was truly something no one expected. Sun Man on the side is still stupid, because she heard a little news and knew about luck, which was completely beyond her imagination. Lu Fei is not here, but because she is Lang Zhe's mother, she took the initiative to cooperate with the investigation. The outcome of this show is not important now. Once the police catch the contact person hiding in the toilet, the control here will be over. Conduct identity checks and let them go one by one. When the Qin family passed by for inspection, they saw busy Luo Fei. When Luo Fei saw them, he came over to say hello. Although he was busy, he had a smile on his face, and his eyes towards Ji Fei were much friendlier. Although it was an error, it has to be said that without Ji Fei and Qin Chao's stage play, they would not have been able to catch this big fish. Moreover, the live broadcast of their performance was played on the computer of the police station, and many colleagues were attracted by the plot. Being able to perform such a role and plot allowed Luo Fei to put a character filter on Ji Fei. At this moment, many young policemen working here were looking at Ji Fei and Qin Chao with admiration. You have been a big help. I will treat you later and thank you very much, Luo Fei said. It's just a coincidence, Qin Xian said. Hey, I didn't even have time to think about the contact person in the toilet. I didn't expect that I had already caught him. It seems that I have gained a lot tonight. By the way, if I go to see the contact person, can I wipe it? Why didn't I think of it? Let me see. Qin Xian's expression changed. Could he still be like this? Can't see it? Why, well, secrets that interfere too much with the functioning of the world cannot be disclosed. Sure enough, with this broken system, you can only take advantage of yourself. Alas, what a pity. Qin Xian finally understood that Ji Fei was not omniscient. He could only know some simple information, which could affect individuals at most, or affect relevant people due to causality. For example, because Ji Fei knows Lang Zhe's information and it affects the contact person, if Ji Fei goes to see the contact person, he may be able to see some irrelevant things about the relevant people. The police can also find out, but it is impossible to know the behind-the-scenes information all at once. People, the impact would be too great. Qin Xian also felt that it was a pity, but he could understand that if he could really do it, Ji Fei's ability would be too incredible. Just a small episode, Ji Fei and Qin Xian were not entangled. Qin Xian briefly said a few words to Luo Fei, then led the family out. Passing by the door, I met Xiaoqi resting on the ground. As soon as Xiaoqi saw Ji Fei, she stood up, made a whining sound, and wagged her tail crazily. The trainer smiled beside him and said, Xiaoqi is apologizing to you for not accompanying you to complete the performance. Ji Fei smiled and stepped forward to pet the dog's head. How could it be? Xiaoqi is so handsome. What Xiaoqi does is more meaningful than my performance. Xiaoqi is awesome. Xiaoqi was so excited by the praise that she kept rubbing Ji Fei's legs. Everyone couldn't help but ask Xiaoqi for a photo, and then left the studio. When I came outside, I saw the director and producer who were messily arranging follow-up comfort work in the wind. Both of them looked like their bodies had been hollowed out. Pei Mingxian even stepped forward to show concern. Then two eyes were cast on Ji Fei in the crowd, with a hint of resentment. Ji Fei? It's really not my fault this time. I didn't know anything about it beforehand. Ji Fei expressed that he was wronged, and isn't this a good thing? The criminal was caught. We are very happy to have fulfilled our civic obligations, but our hearts really can't bear it. We still want to live for a few more years. The producer almost burst into tears. The director also said excitedly, next time, when you participate in some program, Can you avoid us? I think our horoscopes may be a bit different. Everyone, I want to laugh, but I am embarrassed to laugh. Indeed, who can make such a bloody show? It is unprecedented in the entertainment industry. But this is not a coincidence. There is nothing I can do but pat them on the shoulder to express sympathy. But they didn't know that the storm had just begun. Although the internet was noisy and full of speculations, neither the program team nor the participating artists were in a position to say more before the police announcement came out. Only the audience in the studio at the time would jump out to expose information, but it was difficult to tell whether it was true or false. But starting in the second half of the night, the direction of the information changed. My neighbor is XX, and I saw the police coming to his house in the middle of the night. Who knows, family members, my girlfriend is a member of an artist's public relations team, and was called away from my arms in the middle of the night. I heard that she had to work overtime. Did anyone call to report it? The room upstairs in my house is sometimes quite noisy at night, and I have always endured it. I didn't expect the police to come today. I took a sneak peek and found that the person upstairs in my house was an actor, XXX. Some paparazzi photographed many artists being taken to the police station. Damn, what's going on? Didn't Lang Zhe get into trouble tonight? Until the next morning, everyone's discussion became more and more mysterious. Jifei had a nap, and when he got up to eat breakfast, he saw the chaos on Weibo, and was immediately confused. At the table, everyone was gossiping. What's going on? Qin Rong said in surprise. It is said that many artists' homes were raided last night. Qin Chao flipped through his phone and said, there are rumors in the industry that some of them are drug users. Qin's father said, so it has something to do with Lang Zhe's arrest? Didn't he not take drugs, but just luck? Qin's mother flipped through her phone and said in silence, oh my god, if it is really related, wouldn't these artists with good reputations all be in trouble? Qin Yan said, it turns out that chasing stars is risky. Jifei quickly checked, so that's it, it's not Lang Zhe, it's the contact person. He originally worked in the domestic entertainment industry, and he is usually responsible for trading drugs to artists, so the most valuable thing in his hands is the list of artists traded. Damn, is this a stab in the honeycomb coal? How many artists will have to step down? I can already imagine the heartbreaking scene of the fans. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 175. When the Qin family heard their voices, they suddenly felt that this time, there was really going to be a big earthquake in the entertainment industry. How many artists have been arrested, banned, or have their contracts broken? How many filmings have been suspended, and these artists will even involve more people? I can't imagine how busy the domestic entertainment staff will be these days. It can be said that it can almost completely clean out the people in the entertainment industry who are contaminated with such unclean things. And all this is just because a stage play borrowed a retired drug detection dog. Who would have thought of this? Our Qin group also has related entertainment companies, and their artists. Father Qin frowned. Qin Chao smiled. No wonder the second brother was in a good mood when he went out this morning. Is everything okay? Qin's mother asked. Qin Kaidao, who knows? I guess the second brother thinks that he can take this opportunity to get rid of all the cancer, which will help his future development. Just as he was talking, Jifei suddenly said, there is news. Everyone immediately looked at their mobile phones, and sure enough, the official notice popped up on the hot search, and it immediately occupied the top spot of the hot search list. It's just that this announcement is about Mr. Lang's case last night. The crime of transporting Du was confirmed, and he was spared several years of imprisonment. The reason for transporting him was also revealed, which was to pay off the gambling debts he owed. It was even revealed that his other friends in the industry also owed gambling debts, and an underground casino was arrested. Seize. In this way, the previous rumors are self-defeating. At that time, I kept saying that I did wrong things because of my paranoia. It was simply disgusting. I feel chills running down my back when I think of the people in their circle who joined forces to force a marriage. They are preparing to catch the culprit. It's really sad that love and marriage are being used for calculations. The failure of the plan to frame me makes me afraid of men. There are still many good men in the world, so don't be sexist. Sisters, remember to avoid men who engage in gambling, secret photography, and other such behaviors. Don't try to save them. Oh, I still remember when Lang Zhe was interviewed before, he said that there were many soldiers in his family, and he admired those heroes, but he himself. At this time, Lang Zhe was crying in the police station, "Mom, Mom, save me, I didn't mean it, I really didn't want to, how could this be so serious? I don't want to go to jail, I don't want to go to jail, you can find some connections, our family." Before Lang Zhe could finish crying, Lu Fei slapped him in the face, and the police did not stop him. "You still have the nerve to mention the family. Are you worthy of your grandparents? When you did such a thing, did you ever think about our family's reputation?" Lu Fei's eyes were already scarlet, and he was heartbroken, with thick eyes. Deep disappointment. Lang Zhe was stunned. He just thought about them, so he didn't dare to admit the fraud. Why doesn't his mother understand him? Your father's spirit in heaven would also wish that there had never been a child like you. Lu Fei was also furious and spoke bluntly. As soon as he finished speaking, Lang Zhe suddenly raised his head and looked at Lu Fei with fierce eyes. "It's all your fault that I'm like this. Do you know why I go gambling? It's because of you." Lu Fei looked at Lang Zhe in shock, tears still in her eyes. "What did you say?" Lang Zhe's eyes were filled with hatred. "If you hadn't been too strict with me, you wouldn't have allowed me to do this since I was a child, and you wouldn't have allowed me to try it. If I couldn't stand the pressure, I wouldn't have gambled secretly. I just wanted to relax, but in the end, if it weren't for your face, and in order not to disappoint you, I wouldn't have refused to admit the gambling fraud. If it wasn't for the sake of covering it up, I wouldn't have hidden it. In fact, it's all because of you. You are a failed mother. So you are the one who is least qualified to criticize me." Lang Zhe's output was as crazy as venting his anger, causing the police around him to frown. Lu Fei even staggered back, as if he was unsteady on his feet. It is true that she has always been very strict with Lang Zhe, but without the help of her husband, she could only arm herself for fear of teaching the wrong children. She asked herself that she still respects her children. In fact, she doesn't like Lang Zhe to be a rapper at all. If possible, joining the army or becoming an actor are things they can help as elders. But her son said that this is his dream, even if it doesn't make money. It was difficult to even support herself, and even now she has not achieved anything, but her son liked it, and she did not interfere. She was strict but felt sorry for her son, but she didn't want to be wrong in his eyes in the end. Luo Fei walked out at this time and said with a serious expression, "Adults should be responsible for their own actions, because you are the one who makes all decisions. At your age, your mother still has to worry about you. You are really a failed son. In the end, you are the one who makes all the decisions. I don't have the right to say that it's you who harms you." If Ji Fei could be here, he would definitely be applauded. Why can Lang Zhe talk about his mother, but Lu Fei can't talk about his son? Does he deserve to bear these resentments just because of his status as a mother? Lang Zhe's face turned green and red after being told this, but when he was about to be taken away by the police, he still trembled instinctively and cried out for his mother to save him. But Lu Fei has been heartbroken by this son. Maybe she really failed. When Lang Zhe was taken away, he happened to pass by the room where Peng Li was being held. When Peng Li heard her godson's screams, she immediately shouted anxiously, "This must be a misunderstanding. You must have made a mistake." How could my godson be so lucky? Let him go. The two policemen in charge of questioning on the opposite side said impatiently, Ms. Penn, your problem has not been solved yet, so don't worry about others. Please tell me again, why did you drive him to that supermarket, and then why did you go to the studio? Did you know they were going to trade? Penley had been asked several times. This time, when she knew Langzhe was taken away, she immediately made a fuss. You actually took me as a prisoner. I am the eldest daughter of the Penn Group. I won't say anything. Wait for my lawyer. I will report you. Please cooperate. Penley refused to cooperate and challenged the authority of the law, which immediately made the police cold-faced. At this time, someone finally came. Penley thought it would be her old parents with a lawyer, but she didn't expect that it was a young woman who came. The young woman was dressed neatly and said she was here to handle things for Penley. Penley was puzzled and said, "Who are you? Who asked you to come? A lawyer? Why send such a little girl?" The woman glanced at her coldly and reported her name to the police. The familiar name made Penley's expression twisted for a moment. It turned out that the visitor was her biological daughter whom she had not seen for many years. The daughter just came back to visit her grandparents, but she didn't expect that her stupid mother would be involved in such a scandal. Her grandparents were so angry that they were physically unwell. There was no choice but for her to come and understand the situation. Penley was unaware of Langzhe's gambling, but her behavior and attitude were too suspicious, and she was indeed passively involved in it, so it was more troublesome to deal with it. In short, she couldn't leave the police station today. You stay here, I will arrange a lawyer to handle it, the daughter said coldly without even looking at Penley. Penley looked at her with hatred and said, "Then why are you here? Watching me make a fool of myself. Are you not going to do your best to take the opportunity to retaliate against me?" The daughter sneered. "Revenge you are not worth my time. If it weren't for my grandparents, I would not care about you. But I really didn't expect." Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 176. Penley's face suddenly changed. She obviously didn't like this daughter, but she wanted this daughter to be respectful to her. Seeing her expression of mockery and half said, she couldn't help but said, "What do you want to say?" Wu Xingqing sarcastically said, "I heard that you don't like me, your biological daughter, because you dreamed that you would be ruined and imprisoned because of me." Penley froze for a moment, and saw Wu Xingqing smiled and said, "Who is ruining your reputation and imprisoning you now? Is it me? No. It's your precious godson. Congratulations, your dream has come true in another way." The policeman on the side almost laughed out loud. Penley's expression was distorted. She wanted to raise her hand to hit Wu Xingqing, but Wu Xingqing grabbed her wrist and said, "You gave up my custody, so you are not qualified to teach me." After Wu Xingqing finished speaking, she shook off Penley's hand, turned around and left without caring about her lost look. When the door was opened, Sun Man happened to pass by. She was here to complete matters related to the fraud case. Luo Fei stood beside her and was about to send her in. Wu Xingqing didn't know them, so she naturally didn't say hello. Just as she was about to leave, she felt movement behind her. She looked back and saw Penley threatening Sun Man. "It's all because of you, bitch. If it weren't for you, things wouldn't have developed to this point. It's all because of you. Obviously you are the bad one. Tell me, did you design the trap? Luo Fei rolled his eyes directly, causing Wu Xinqing, who was facing him, to be stunned for a moment. She probably thought that domestic police should be more serious, and seeing such casualness made her a little surprised, and inexplicably, as if she had seen him somewhere before, and felt a little familiar. Sun Man listened to Peng Li's roar and finally couldn't help but said coldly, "Ms. Peng, are you still living in your own fantasy? The drugs were searched from Langjie, can you still blame me? Oh, I remember one thing." Sun Man suddenly frowned strangely and said, "You have a bad impression of me because you suspect that I stole the necklace." Peng Li didn't expect Sun Man to dare to say it in public, and was stunned for a moment. "In fact, your necklace was really lost at the beginning, but if it is true, then the person who stole it must be Langjie." "What? Are you crazy? He is my godson." Sun Man smiled and said, "So what, he was once my boyfriend, and he didn't commit a secret photo fraud against me. I only know that during that time he started to pay off his gambling debts and steal your jewelry. Yes, the one on your neck, it should be more than enough to pay off the debt." The people around looked at the pearl necklace on Peng Li's neck. Peng Li suddenly felt a little uncomfortable in her neck, and couldn't help touching the necklace and said, "Don't frame me. If he stole it, where could he hide it?" "Sun Man, that's why I didn't suspect him at first, and I thought you were wrong. But now it seems that he can hide the string of pearls, just use his method of hiding drugs. The first time is unfamiliar, the second time is familiar, otherwise he wouldn't have thought of using this method to transport it so neatly. If he hadn't been discovered halfway and Peng Li wanted to call the police, he wouldn't have taken it out. Now Sun Man is just grateful that she doesn't like these jewelry, so she didn't touch the necklace from beginning to end. Otherwise, she would be sick to death now." Peng Li was stunned for a moment, and the police, including Luo Fei, stepped back, looking embarrassed. Such a large string of pearls can be stuffed in? Then the amount he transported is still conservative. Luo Fei couldn't help but say, "It's impossible that the anorectal doctor didn't take it all out." This sentence was like a thunderbolt that almost made Peng Li fall down. But who dared to touch Peng Li with the necklace? No one helped her. Wu Xinqing also reacted and her face turned blue. She was disgusted and naturally would not help anyone. In the end, Peng Li stood up by herself. When she reacted, she wanted to pull the necklace madly, but she froze the moment she reached out. In fact, she had taken regular maintenance, but still. It was like a poisonous snake coiled around her neck. She didn't dare to touch it with her hands, and she couldn't stand it staying on her neck. In the end, Peng Li collapsed and fainted. It was still the paramedics who came and carried the person away. Wu Xinqing had to go with them, which was very troublesome. At this moment, Luo Fei also came out with Wu Xinqing. "Are you Ms. Peng's daughter? Are you taking the ambulance?" "I'll take my own car." Wu Xinqing didn't want to stay with that woman. As a result, she felt a little embarrassed after saying it. After all, outsiders thought they were mother and daughter, and she would definitely be criticized for being so indifferent. Maybe she will be taught a lesson by the police uncle later. As a result, Luo Fei did not interfere and directly arranged for the police to follow in the ambulance. Wu Xinqing therefore looked at Luo Fei more. "Ching Ching." Suddenly, a voice called Wu Xinqing. Looking back, it was a young man. However, when the man saw Luo Fei beside Wu Xinqing looking back, he stopped and looked uncomfortable for a moment. As a policeman, he naturally keenly caught the strange expression of the man towards him. But he was sure that he did not know this man. The man quickly recovered and walked forward, asking with concern, "I just saw my aunt being taken away. Is there an accident?" "Yes, she fainted." "Let's go to the hospital," Wu Xinqing said lightly. The man stepped forward and took Wu Xingqing's shoulder and said, "Then let's go." It is obvious that the two are in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. Wu Xingqing nodded to Luo Fei, and the man also nodded to him with a smile, but when he looked at him for the last time, he had a meaningful smile. Luo Fei frowned slightly, and there was always a weird feeling in his heart. However, the bureau was busy and there was no time to think about it. There were still a lot of artists' drug abuse issues waiting to be issued and dealt with. After sorting out the list of all the artists involved and publishing it, Weibo was paralyzed in the server 1 minute later. Even other software that talked more about entertainment celebrity gossips also crashed one after another. Looking at the Qin family's group of people frantically refreshing the page, you can imagine what other netizens look like. Wow, someone took a screenshot and sent it to the group. My classmates in the group are crying so miserably. Several of the real masters have collapsed, Qin Rong said excitedly. Qin Yan was also surprised and said, "Our hospital work group is also in an uproar." Qin's father said, "There is no one in the Qin group, but some celebrities who cooperate with Qin group's products have had problems." Qin's mother said, "I guess the second child will not be able to come back tonight." Qin Chao said, "This is not a big deal. Just issue a statement and sever cooperation." Ji Feel said, "Sister Pei is also cursing in our studio's small group, because one of the male actors happens to be the male supporting actor in Yu Royan's current drama, and everyone has to find someone to reshoot him, delaying the schedule. Fortunately, she successfully signed a contract with Sun Man and is in a good mood, otherwise it would be difficult to calm down her anger at this moment." Soon, the software was restored, and everyone rushed in to serve. The square was already crowded with homeless fans from all sides, and it was simply a scene of mourning. As a result, before I could see enough excitement, I heard Ji Fei curse. "Damn, why am I still the first on the hot search? Qin family? Is there such a thing? Go and see it quickly." After The Wife of a Wealthy Family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 177. The Qin family went to see it. Not only was it the most popular search, but the top 3 were all about Ji Fei, followed by the related searches of the celebrities whose reputations were ruined. #Trust me, Sister Fei, the judge of the domestic entertainment industry, abide by the law, and the main character will be forever solid. #Dear, do you want to have a star chasing that will never be ruined? Look for Sister Fei to identify #Sister Fei, come and help me identify it. It sounds like a large-scale brainwashing scene. Who brought up the popularity? The Qin family wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. Looking around, shoulders were shaking. Ji Fei looked at those celebrities whose reputations were ruined, but they were not as popular as her. She seriously suspected that someone had pulled her out to take the blame. As a result, after contacting Pei Mingxian, she had to accept that no one bought hot searches for her. This is all the deep love from netizens. The Qin family coughed in a suppressed manner. Ji Fei looked over with resentment, suspecting that these people were laughing at her after seeing the hot searches. The Qin family, who felt the gaze, immediately cooperated to gossip about the stars whose reputations suddenly collapsed. As far as the matter is concerned, it is still quite serious. In addition to those who seem to have some signs of that kind of thing, some people with good roots have also had problems, and even some have had drug rehabilitation propaganda. How many film and television works and entertainment videos were locked overnight? How many brands removed materials and announced the termination of cooperation, and many programs that are still in production were censored like crazy. The staff in the domestic entertainment circle are really complaining and scolding. It is a real cleansing operation without gunpowder. The Weibo of the relevant artists has been banned, and there are only lonely statements on the studio, and the big fans have blacked out their avatars one after another. Many fans are unwilling to face the reality, asking about the situation everywhere, or finding reasons and excuses for their real masters. Even many fans abroad will claim that those things are no big deal, saying that the domestic entertainment industry is making a fuss. But most domestic entertainment audiences are still determined to resist artists' drug use. Before, I didn't comment because I didn't know the whole story. Now that I know the whole story, I request execution. Those brainless fans should stop making excuses for your master. He even played a policeman. Isn't that disgusting? They are still idols. Are they using such behavior to corrupt minors? Look, how distorted are the values of minors now? It's terrible. The values follow the five senses, but that's only before encountering major issues. Ban bad artists and never return. I really don't understand how people who take this stuff can take it. It's harmful to their own bodies and stained with the blood of their compatriots. So, those brainless fans should stop making excuses. They are the scum of society. If you make excuses for those bad artists, how can those heroes who sacrificed on the front line of the fight against drugs rest in peace? If you ask me, it's all thanks to the scene of the judge of domestic entertainment. If these buyers hadn't been caught, the heroes who sacrificed would have sacrificed in vain. But I really want to complain about one thing. A program can dig out a judge of domestic entertainment like Sister Faye. The director and producer are also talented. Ha 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 ha, my acting, cut, should be renamed The King of Hell Calls. One on and one on, no one said a word. I was wrong. I underestimated Sister Faye. I thought that the melons that should be exposed in the first 3 episodes had been exposed. Sister Faye's ability had stopped there. She couldn't be exposed anymore, and the popularity should also drop. As a result, Sister Faye is still Sister Faye. She directly crosses the border and the moral rectification is completed. It's time to go on a legal program. On the internet, people really cursed and laughed at the same time. Even the official came out to praise the stage play brought by the program team and the top stream group, which clearly recognized their contributions. However, in this storm, some people still want to fish in troubled waters, and some people are directly falsely accused and want to take the opportunity to smear. After all, it is difficult to say who is right and who is wrong in this swarm, and some netizens may be misled. At the beginning, the few artists who were smeared could only issue statements, and their Weibo accounts were not locked, which was enough to prove their innocence, but the effect was minimal. Until the appearance of the Black Sun Man. Ji-Fei was stunned when she saw the new hot search. Some people actually said that Sun Man also touched this thing. The Qin family looked for entries related to Sun Man when they heard it, and they were also shocked when they took a closer look. Because of Lang Jaeun, Sun Man must have smoked as an ex-girlfriend. What kind of logic is this? Qin Rong said in surprise. Does Sun Man have a rival? Qin's mother asked curiously. Now the industry should have known that we signed Sun Man. At this time, who dares to bump into the judge of the domestic entertainment without fear of death? Qin Chao raised his eyebrows. Although Ji-Fei was speechless, he felt that this was the case in his heart. So it's probably outside the circle, Qin's father said. Qin Yan instantly thought, is it her relatives? Aren't they sued? Maybe they want to bite back. Ji-Fei also thought that this was the case, and immediately checked it with the system. It's really Sun's mother and uncle, because they think that Sun Man's resolute action to sue them is too extreme, so they plan to take this opportunity to bite back, which is really stupid. Hearing this answer, the Qin family also thinks that the behavior is very stupid. But the development of the matter is somewhat unexpected. After Sun Man learned the news, she immediately posted a Weibo to clarify, but she didn't expect that Sun's mother and uncle would immediately show up with their ID cards and report it in person, saying that they would kill relatives for the greater good, and they also cried and accused Sun Man of being unfilial and mean to her mother who raised her alone. As close relatives, when they said that Sun Man smoked, most netizens basically lost their ability to distinguish. After all, your mother would never harm you with such a thing. Of course, the loyal fans of the program team were skeptical. How is it possible? If Sun Man also smoked, then she would be an accomplice with Langjet. How could it be so serious? Yes, she is so close to Langjet. If she smoked, she must be on the list. Why do I remember that when Sun Man was forced to marry, this mother and uncle forced her to marry with an ugly face? There were many doubts on the Weibo of Sun's mother and uncle, but they were deleted one after another, which immediately aroused the rebellion of netizens. It was quite joyful to watch the quarrel. But now Sun Man is not a poor little thing that anyone can bully. Pei Mingxian directly ignored the accusations of Sun's mother and uncle, and pulled Sun Man to start interacting on Weibo, with the theme, "Congratulations to the studio for adding another fierce general." Then, Qin Xiao, Ji Fei and Yu Royan, arranged by Pei Mingxian, successively forwarded the Weibo to welcome Sun Man's arrival. This time, we finally saw Ji Fei's ability to guide people. Once she forwarded it, 99% of people firmly believed that Sun Man was innocent. No matter how Sun's mother and uncle cried and used false evidence to prove it, very few people paid attention. Finally, Pei Mingxian joked, "The first step to join our studio is naturally to conduct physical examinations for the health of employees." After The Wife of a Wealthy Family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 178. As a result, that night, Pei Mingxian posted a photo of taking Sun Man for a physical examination, indirectly using various testing items to prove that Sun Man did not smoke. Under the double guarantee, who would dare to hack Sun Man? After the inspection report came out, Pei Mingxian made a quick statement: she would soon appeal against Sun's mother and uncle Sun's false accusations. This suddenly triggered new fluctuations. With this trend in mind, artists who were clearly innocent but were wrongly accused also jumped out to defend their own interests. But the shamelessness of Sun's mother and uncle was unimaginable. They started to lie again and again, saying that they had not studied for a few years, were uneducated, and did not understand those things. They pretended that those who did not know were not guilty. They just saw Sun Man acting strangely, so they misunderstood him. They were just afraid that their relatives would go astray, and they had good intentions. Seeing such a response, the Qin family was really disgusted. All I can say is that disgusting Mother Hummer opened the door to disgusting people. It's so disgusting. Qin family, some people are born in the year of walnut, so they need a hammer. Soon Pei Mingxian came with Thor's hammer and directly released the relevant documents, uncovering their fig leaf, proving that these two people were discovered because they had transferred Sun Man's property, and used false accusations because of Sun Man's demands. Abuse of means. In order to avoid future troubles, Pei Mingxian started writing a small essay and explained clearly how Sun's mother and uncle had treated Sun Man over the years. This is to avoid being manipulated by family affection and morally kidnapped in the future. Oh my God, I've never seen a mother's elbow turned outward. Is this the rumored brother feuding demon or the nephew felting demon? Uncle Sun won't say it anymore. Mother Sun is so shocked. What is the structure of her brain? She helps her brother and nephew suck her own daughter's blood, and she also falsely accuses her daughter. Does she know that this will make Sun Man? My career is ruined. Some women are just charming men, and nothing is as important as their sex. I can guarantee that if Sun Man were a man, Sun's mother would definitely be a crazy child protector. Sun Ma just looks down on herself, so she also looks down on her daughter. She used to think that orphans and widowed mothers could only rely on men to survive. Even though their family relied on Sun Man to support them, she still firmly believed that it would be impossible without brothers to rely on. Even if you try to crack her brain and try to reason with her, she won't listen. Obviously she is selfish. She knows that there will be no consequences for offending her daughter, but she will be abandoned if she offends her brother and nephew, so she has to wrong her daughter so that she can have both sides. Seeing the scolding on the internet, Sun's mother collapsed. Before they left Sun Man's house, Sun's mother took Uncle Sun and nephew to find a way. Seeing that the netizens' information was about to be leaked to him, the nephew immediately threw away his mother's hand and angrily said, "It's all your fault. You can't control your daughter. If I get raped online, it's all your fault." Uncle Sun looked at the lawyer's letter that was sent and said with an ugly face, "I'm warning you, if you go to court, you will say that everything was your idea and your doing. We don't know about it. If you don't put all the information, if you bear the responsibility, I will no longer recognize you as my sister, and my son will not have you as my aunt, do you understand?" Sun Ma's face turned pale. "What do you mean, you left me alone?" "Yes, you can go to jail, pay a fine or whatever," Uncle Sun said angrily. "Of course you have to bear the responsibility for what your daughter did. I really don't believe she can force you to death." Sun's mother was at a loss and really didn't know what to do. She could only call her daughter for help. She knew that as long as she cried, the other party would be soft-hearted and let them go. But after the call was made, it was Pei Mingxian who answered the phone. "Sorry, I will handle all of Ms. Sun Man's phone calls before the trial. Don't bother making phone calls. Leave everything to the law." Sun's mother, who had no way to contact anyone at all, was completely panicked. She seemed to suddenly understand something. Her uncles and nephews did not belong to her in the first place, but what belonged to her was lost by her. But no matter how much she cried or even tried to commit suicide, it was useless. Except for the cold remote treatment, Sun Ma never saw Sun Man again. After all, that false accusation really chilled Sun Man's heart. And Jifei, who was staying at the Qin family, naturally took advantage of it secretly. "Well done, Sister Pei, there must be something hateful about poor people. You can't tolerate this kind of thing. You still want to use family affection to kidnap you. It's a beautiful idea, but don't let uncle and nephew go, expose them." In the past few days, everyone in the Qin family, except Qin Xian, Qin Chao and Qin Yan, stayed with Jifei at home for convenience. And Jifei just thought that they had nothing to do, surfing the internet, and gossiping with everyone when they saw something interesting. After all, the matter this time involved too much. It lasted for a week before it stopped, and it was so overwhelming. It is estimated that all major marketing accounts have completed their annual KPIs ahead of schedule. In the end, Sun Man's incident did not disappoint. Sun's mother and uncle were both sentenced, and Sun's nephew did not get any benefits. All the real estate they had no time to sell was recovered. Although they have suffered a lot of losses, they have finally gotten rid of the blood-sucking family. From now on, they will only have legal alimony. However, after the results came out, some people on the internet still made sarcastic remarks, saying that Sun Man was too cruel to his own mother. Sure enough, if you are a little stricter, a bunch of moral defenders will jump out and criticize anyway. The whip has not hit them. They don't care whether others hurt or not, they just stand on the moral high ground to educate others. Report them all to you. The Qin family also moved their fingers and silently clicked the report. However, Sun Man's reaction did not disappoint Jifei. She ignored these voices of disdain for others. Apart from occasionally caring about Senior Lu Fei, she silently recovered and waited for Sister Pei's servitude. Until she was imprisoned, Sun's mother never saw Sun Man. According to Sister Pei, Sun's mother cried so hard that she lost her soul and kept mumbling, "I was wrong, I was wrong." Unfortunately, it's too late. After this crisis, the entertainment industry is really much cleaner. Of course, it also violated the interests of many capitals. After all, this time it was equivalent to cutting off the cash cow of many people. Even if the Qin group is their backer, some people are gearing up to teach Qin Chao and Jifei a lesson. Unexpectedly, before their new job came out, Qin Chao issued a temporary retirement statement, saying that he would temporarily withdraw from domestic entertainment and move to foreign entertainment circles to do behind-the-scenes work. This was not a place they could reach, so in addition to the tearful farewells from fans who supported the Qin dynasty, those who wanted to cause trouble could only change their targets in tears, intending to focus their firepower on Jifei alone. Unexpectedly, after waiting for a long time and hearing that many jobs were actively handed over, everyone thought that Pei Mingxian would take advantage of the limelight of the internal entertainment judge to promote Jifei to the next top. As a result, she waited and waited. When Sun Man took over the job, Jifei didn't come out, as if she had just wandered into the entertainment industry. "Are you really here to buy tickets?" But those who are careful will find that the original studio boss has changed, Qin Chao has completely withdrawn, and only Jifei is left. Stop being an artist and become a boss instead. In short, there were many speculations. It was not until fans put their condolences to Jifei on the hot search that Jifei had to come out and respond, "He is still here, take a rest, take a rest." In the studio, Pei Mingxian rolled her eyes angrily. In fact, she really wants to arrange work. She has the most job offers now, but someone is in the middle. Forget it, it's not bad to retreat bravely. It's troublesome to have the reputation of internal entertainment judge. "I'll arrange work for you when the heat subsides." Pei Mingxian could only comfort herself. Jifei agreed obediently, and she had to be obedient at this time. After all, she had taken too much advantage. Until now, Jifei was still looking at the two men at the desk next to him in disbelief. Qin Xian and Qin Chao were doing the final document processing. Qin Chao shrugged and said, "I withdrew part of the funds and took them away. The rest that is inconvenient to use will be treated as a gift to my second sister-in-law." Qin Xian nodded and said, "I will inject 1/3 of the capital in the name of Qin Group, but the proportion will not exceed that invested by Jifei. From now on, Jifei will be the only boss here." Pei Mingxian smiled with satisfaction, which was tantamount to letting others know that they were backed by the Qin Group. Pei Mingxian, who hated Jifei, immediately changed her smile and said, "Thank you." Qin Xian turned to look at Jifei, and seeing her unable to react, he smiled and said, "Are you satisfied with this?" Jifei nodded frantically. "But I feel a little guilty. How about, I'd better use the money I put with you for my investment." In fact, Jifei doesn't understand why the investment in her name was funded by Qin Xian. Isn't she rich? Isn't it enough? Qin Xian's eyes darkened. It would be a bit risky to put all the money Jifei invested in his hands into the studio, let alone, someone might feel confident enough to divorce him immediately. He didn't want to give Jifei this idea. "The money you invested has not been transferred out yet, so it cannot be used," Qin Xian said. Jifei still felt awkward. "Then after the divorce, does this count as mine?" "Qin Xian." "Qin Chao, I didn't hear anything." Qin Xian could only add, "And as your husband, my money is your money, but the things in your name will always be yours. To put it simply, the future profits of this studio will be yours." She didn't understand investment matters, but when she said this, Jifei's eyes lit up. Losing heart is nothing, losing money is heartbreaking. "Hey, now that you Royan and Sun Man are making money for me, what do I have to worry about? I can just lie down and be a salted fish when I get too bored. I can join the circle and eat." Qin Xian's eyes gradually became fonder, and she could be happy as she pleased. Qin Chao on the side looked more and more incredible. He thought that the only woman who could make his brother express his emotions so well was his second sister-in-law. Suddenly I remembered my brother and sister-in-law's arrangements for the evening, and I couldn't help but ask, "Are you really going to your class reunion tonight?" Qin Chao hinted wildly with his eyes. Qin Xian nodded indifferently. Jifei insisted on participating after hearing about it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 179. Although Ji-Fei has changed a lot now, Qin Chao still remembers the tragic situation of the last class reunion of his second brother. That was Qin Xian and Ji-Fei's first class reunion after receiving their certificates. As a couple, even if they are a nominal couple, Qin Xian will respect Ji-Fei's choice in this kind of class reunion that usually involves bringing companions. At that time, Ji-Fei became very neurotic because of the disapproval of their marriage by the people around her, and she strictly guarded against any social interactions with Qin Xian, let alone the class reunion, where gossip was most likely to occur. That time, Ji-Fei went to declare his sovereignty, and the result was predictable. Many of Qin Xian's brothers had just returned from abroad. As soon as they came back, they heard about Oolong's marriage, and they were very unfavorable to Ji-Fei, who had set up his brothers. Although he didn't say anything on the surface for Qin Xian's sake, he was very dissatisfied with Ji-Fei. Ji-Fei is also not very warm, and is basically in a superficial polite state. Qin Xian was naturally as cold-tempered as ever. I wonder if Ji-Fei was too sensitive and couldn't fit into such an occasion and started sulking. As a result, one person accidentally recalled an interesting incident from college back then and said, "Back then, Yuji." Probably because he suddenly realized something was wrong, he immediately stopped and apologized, but the next second, Ji-Fei went crazy. Not only did she throw wine in the girl's face, but she also slapped the boy who came to defend the girl. When someone stood up and scolded her, she overturned the table and yelled, but Qin Xian couldn't stop him at all. Naturally, the class reunion was completely ruined. Everyone was embarrassed and angry. Even if the Qin family defended themselves, Qin Xian could only apologize in the face of this situation, and then left with Ji-Fei. As a result, Ji-Fei cried aggrievedly when she came back. She felt that brother Qin Xian looked down on her and smashed things around the house, causing trouble for the whole family. Later, Qin Xian was invited to the class reunion, but Qin Xian refused. This time, it was Luo Fei who took the initiative to send the invitation letter to the Qin family and handed it over to Ji-Fei. Probably because of this incident, Luo Fei changed his view of Ji-Fei. This time it was a sincere invitation. But the last class reunion was so embarrassing. I don't know what Ji-Fei was thinking. Could it be that he felt that what he did last time was too much, so he planned to apologize and get along well with his second brother's classmates? In fact, for ordinary students, Qin Chao felt that there was nothing to worry about. Even among the second brother's group of brothers, one or two had a bad temper and left such a big conflict last time. He didn't know what would happen when they met this time. Because they knew that Ji-Fei was going to attend the class reunion, their family was very worried, and they are still discussing it in the small group. That's why Qin Chao couldn't help but ask again. If Qin Chao was Ji-Fei, he wouldn't want to face those people again. It's okay to meet each other like Luo Fei, but it's still a class reunion. Just thinking about it makes me dig my toes on the ground in embarrassment. Just as he was thinking about it, he saw Qin Xian packing up everything and handing it over to the special assistant, then walked up to Ji-Fei and said, "We are getting ready to leave." Ji-Fei was thinking about poaching more labor for the studio when she heard the sound and remembered today's big show. He stood up immediately, his face full of excitement. Qin Chao asked suspiciously, "You are so looking forward to your second brother's class reunion, this guy must have forgotten what he did last time." Ji-Fei nodded, but couldn't help but start cheering inwardly. What kind of class reunion? It's obviously Guotian. Oh my god, it's finally possible to eat melons at close range. Qin Xian's gang of brothers, the melons around them exploded quack quack. The corners of Ji-Fei's mouth that couldn't be suppressed showed Ji-Fei's excitement. Qin Xian, so it's to eat melon? He thought, wait, were his brothers so exaggerated? Qin Xiao, why does it suddenly feel so reasonable? Damn it, I'm getting curious. How did it explode? An ex-girlfriend turned into a sister-in-law and still had no connection, a Baiwei double was actually paid for, a crush was about to marry his cousin, and the father of another was about to marry a wife of the same age as them. Luo Fei was the most normal among them, yes, but he and his girlfriend also got pregnant out of wedlock. I heard it was some kind of redemption plot. It was full of melons. Qin Xian, no, what? Ah. Who is she talking about? Even if Qin Xian doesn't interfere much in other people's private affairs, he should have heard everything he should have heard. Except that the father of one of them is about to marry a little girl, which has spread throughout the upper class circles. What else is there? Qin Xian had already begun to suspect that the class reunion that Ji-Fei attended was not the same as his own. Or the people she was talking about were not her brothers at all. Qin Xiao's eyes widened. What? What? Are my brother's gang of brothers playing such a big game? Damn it, I really want to eat it there. But in this situation, he couldn't sneak in. He had no choice but to send the news he heard to the small group. Being happy alone is not as good as being happy together. The Qin family members who were suddenly hit by various melons but could not attend the scene in person, are you sure this is Zhonglele? At this time, Qin Xian had already set off with Ji-Fei in a daze. They arrived relatively late. Before that, Qin Xian's group of brothers had almost arrived. When Luo Fei came with his girlfriend, everyone's attention was focused, especially the table that attracted the most attention. Although it is said to be a class reunion, it still has its own small group. Their table was considered the most powerful group. Luo Zhou took the lead and choked, with a look on his face, are you crazy? You actually took the initiative to invite that crazy woman from Qin Xian's family. Xian Yi, who was sitting next to Luo Zhou, said, Luo Zhou, after all, she is the wife of Qin Xian. It is not polite to call her like this. Luo Zhou frowned impatiently, today is the class reunion. Are you here as our classmate or as my sister-in-law? You can preach on a few occasions. Xuanhuan's face changed. There were a few people present who had clear eyes, nostrils, and minds, but those who didn't laughed at Luo Zhou. You, what? Is it so awkward for you to have the monitor treat you as your sister-in-law? It's been more than 2 years, and you're still not used to it. The equally heartless girlfriend by Zioxi also laughed and said, why do I remember the last time Xuanyi said something wrong and Ji-Fei threw wine at her, you were the first one to stand up to defend yourself, and you were slapped. I know although you are not convinced by this sister-in-law, we are still a family after all. Luo Zhou, you are so awkward, ha ha ha. Others looked at the silly and sweet couple speechlessly. Shut up, Luo Zhou said coldly. Qi Li shrugged, holding a quiet girl with one arm, pointing at Luo Fei and saying, he rebelled when he borrowed a police dog. Hearing this, Sen Ting, who had just hung up the phone, said, I have watched that show. Ji-Fei performed very well. I heard that she did a lot of good things. She is the most popular in the entertainment industry now and is very popular. I think she may have changed. It's just for the show's effect. Isn't your fiancé involved in the entertainment industry? Didn't he tell you that these are all fake characters? Luo Zhou said disdainfully. Sen Ting didn't want to argue with others and stopped talking. Jing Yan, who was sitting next to Sen Ting, glanced at Sen Ting and said to Luo Fei, who was helping his girlfriend sit down and ignoring everyone, didn't you dislike her the most before? Although Luo Fei seemed to have no conflict with Ji-Fei at all, he was actually the one who was most unhappy with Ji-Fei from the beginning. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, Tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 180. Luo Fei has a sense of justice. He has known Qin Xian for the longest time and has the best relationship with him. Qin Xian had a cold temperament since he was a child and was very slow to react emotionally. Luo Fei was always worried that someone would bully Qin Xian. In fact, Qin Xian was such a smart person. How could most people bully him? Luo Fei was very protective of Qin Xian. Just desire. So there was quite a bit of criticism about the marriage between the two, and I felt that Qin Xian was bullied. Not to mention what happened at the last class reunion, Qin Xian has always been a good person, and there are very few occasions when he needs to apologize. Seeing Qin Xian bowing his head and apologizing for Ji Fei's mistakes made everyone feel uncomfortable. At that time, everyone was thinking whether Qin Xian and Yu Ji, who had suddenly broken up, had a chance to reconcile, even if their classmate Jin Yu came to power. Although they looked down on Jin Yu's behavior of approaching Qin Xian, after all, it felt a bit like trying to pry into the corner of his best friend, but Qin Xian didn't notice Jin Yu's feelings at all, so they naturally wouldn't meddle in other people's business, but they didn't want to Ji Fei killed him halfway. In the end, Jin Yu reaped the consequences and tortured herself. Simply unbelievable. But they still don't agree with Ji Fei. Qin Xian has good character, strong ability, and is a very good person, which can even be said to be perfect. With such brothers and classmates, they are never jealous, but only feel extremely proud. Not to mention that the family behind them almost takes the fact that Qin title is their brother as their advantage. Publicly and privately, they all liked Qin title. When Qin Xian and Yu Ji were together in the past, they thought everything was so perfect. It's like seeing beautiful things. He was so high on CP. But Ji Fei's appearance ruined Qin Xian's perfection. How could they wait to see Ji Fei? Therefore, everyone expressed their incomprehension that Luo Fei took the initiative to invite Ji Fei and sent a message to inform them. Even though Ji Fei's reputation is completely different from what they knew because of her participation in variety shows, they still think everything is fake. It's strange that they have hardly met Qin Xian in the past 6 months. They are either busy dating or out of town, so they really don't understand Ji Fei's great changes. After listening to his friend's complaints, Luo Fei poured a cup of hot tea for his girlfriend. After making arrangements, he said, I invited her over for 2 reasons. Everyone became curious and fell silent. First, she has really changed. She looks quite pleasing to the eye now, just like the Ji Fei that Qin's father and Qin's mother described before. Most of the people present actually didn't know Ji Fei as described by Qin's father and mother before, but Luo Fei and Jingyan knew. Jingyan raised his eyebrows, that lively, cute, quirky, and little son-like Ji Fei. What? That's true, Luo Zhou's disgusted expression indicated that he was being attacked. Qi Li curiously let go of the girl he had been hugging, really or not? Was she like that before? The one who yelled at me and flipped the table? Did Qin's father and Qin's mother use filters to see people? Luo Fei shrugged, anyway, Ji Fei is quite interesting now. I don't know about the others, but Ji Fei and Qin Chao did help with Sun Man's case. Maybe Qin Lao-san took the lead. Yu thought. No way, his third brother didn't like Ji Fei in the past. Bai Zioxi held Yu's arm and said, and Yu immediately nodded to express that what the baby said made sense. Senting wanted to say something, but after thinking about it, she still didn't speak. Xuanyi felt ashamed and said, maybe you were really stimulated by me last time and did that. People don't like it? Luo Fei continued, the second reason is that I found out that Qin Xian was very interested in Ji Fei, so I was very curious. As soon as these words came out, except for the female companion brought by Qi Li and Luo Fei's own girlfriend. Everyone else was Qin Xian's friend, so when they heard this, they suddenly looked shocked and looked like, "You are here, what nonsense are you saying?" Don't blame them for thinking so, because even when they were with Yu Ji before, no one ever said that Qin Xian was interested in her. Although the two of them match each other very well, they don't look like a couple, but more like the best partners. So, Shang Xian, does Qin Xian have this cell? I understand. Qin Xian's biggest problem is that he is too responsible. Ji Fei is his wife, so he cares about her. After Luo Zhou finished speaking, he seemed to be relieved. Everyone seemed to exhale and felt that it was only reasonable to say this. But Luo Fei shook his head and explained the matter in detail. At that time, Qin Xian suddenly asked him to deal with Sun Man's matter. At that time, Luo Fei was still wondering if Qin Xian was related to Sun Man. Qin Xian replied to Luo Fei, "That's the reserve artist in my wife's studio." In fact, Luo Fei could just arrange for his men to go there for this kind of thing, but Qin Xian's words shocked him. Qin Xian actually came to him for help for his wife, and even asked his third brother to follow his wife. Luo Fei felt that he was just out on a business trip for half a year. Why had the world changed so much? After all, for that kind of thing, you can just call the police. And it still took a lot of twists and turns. When he went, Qin Chao was surprised. Obviously he didn't expect that his second brother would do this. Qin Xian's behavior was really thoughtful, as if he didn't want his wife's affairs to go wrong in the slightest. So when the two items were combined, Luo Fei really wanted to see what the two of them were doing now. He really treats Qin Xian as a brother. If a brother really cares about him, he will naturally respect him. He will never give him face because of personal likes and dislikes, and he will take care of his younger brother and sister-in-law. Let these people see, by the way, don't give him face at that time, it will be equivalent to slapping Qin Xian in the face. After listening to Luo Fei's description, although the feeling doesn't seem to be very strong, for them who have known Qin Xian for many years, it really feels a bit mysterious. In a strange silence, suddenly Xianyi screamed. Luo Zhou reflexively moved closer, frowned, and said, "What's wrong?" Xianyi looked at Luo Zhou uncomfortably, holding the phone, and said to everyone, "I just received a message. Yu Ji returned to China. She heard about the class reunion and asked where we are. She also wants to attend this." Everyone's face changed drastically. Although I heard from Luo Fei that Ji Fei has changed. But at the last party, she could make everyone crazy when she mentioned it. If they really meet, will they pull each other's hair? I dare not think about that scene. Luo Zhou sneered, "Come on, it's a class reunion, so naturally it's for classmates." Qi Li raised his eyebrows, "We're not looking for chaos, we just want to see who Qin Xian's heart is with." Everyone couldn't help but want to eat this melon. Only Luo Fei's mouth twitched. He invited people to come. If they met at that time, Ji Fei would have to blame him for getting angry. He didn't take it as a gun, and immediately prepared to send a message to Qin Xian to explain. They came to see it themselves. When others saw that he was going to tip off, they wanted to stop him. There are really many people who want to watch the show and join in the fun. And Ji Fei, who also wanted to watch the show and join in the fun, was already walking quickly excitedly. Seeing that Qin Xian's pace was slower than hers, she couldn't help but turn back and said, "Hurry up, we are all stuck." Qin Xian frowned. He was still thinking, who is who with whom?